they're gonna update, they're gonna need a bunch of those folks, right? And a game plan on how to do it. Because how do you do that and not take airports offline?
Wow, that's what's got to happen.
I know.
There's no way to base it. Right now,
You can't run two parallel systems.
I mean, you beta test the system.
I've got a great business project I can be working on.
My father, I told you years ago, my father here is the biggest.
But this is a fucking problem.
He said,
And you have part of it.
how do you do it?
Gotcha.
We're on the first grader system.
Right, right. Yeah, no, that's,
I don't know what it is.
that would be fun to watch though, that process, to plan that term, change.
I mean, my mother texted me and just said, I watched the news this morning, your father is trying to bring
Yeah.
Good, how are you?
I'll hold on to it. I mean, I need to plug those out there.
It's good to have you.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I looked at that story and I thought, oh my gosh.
Stayed outside all night. I was like, I'm gonna put short. I
47 stinking days.
Keep doing what's in front of you, you know, which is actually better. After that,
Okay. My parents, they love it.
John,
Good on all the stuff.
I didn't hear from anybody.
John texted me. We hit 6:30.
No, he wasn't. He ran the 4x4.
Okay.
I saw his leg, but you know what I mean. He was
But that's what it just,
How are you, Jeremy?
have fun.
Always. Hey, Kevin.
Friday night.
That's right. Exactly right. Yeah, we're not going to
That's 24 hour? No, that's White's. We don't do that one anymore. That's awful.
That sounded like
It was awful. Watching the poor kids run the steeplechase.
yeah. And they've been there how many hours?
They've been there since there's all the money. Most invitations they can for 20, 25 students. 44 teams. She had that for 20 years. No, we don't. George said even that next day that we're not doing that. No, this one, the main stadium is here. The throwing venue is like over half a mile away.
Like in Olympic Village.
Different throwing something.
My grandpa was vice president.
Yeah, I know. The good news, it takes an hour to get there, so it's not that big a wait. I didn't want that. Oh, it's not.
Like he's coming to every year. That's why. Because they're just their own, you know. So
John's coming, he's trying to he texted me.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I call the order first?
Good evening, folks. We are going to begin tonight's meeting with our budget hearing. Mr. Falls and I have a presentation that we'll run through and be happy to answer any questions at the end. So, Mr. Falls, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thank you, folks, for our 25-26 budget presentation, budget hearing. Just some quick facts. As the board knows, we've gone through the budget process. We start in January and then head right on through till the budget vote on May 20th. So we're going to be looking at this year's about a 3.9% increase to our tax levy. With our spending of $50,679,157, you're looking at roughly just over a 2% increase from last year's budget. Really, the majority of the rise in spending reflects an increase to health insurance. You're looking at a 13% increase to our health insurance. That's roughly just under $900,000. So really unheard of, but you're seeing across the board with inflation, but really one of the big areas, and again, looking at some of the reports nationwide, healthcare continues to be an area where the increases are the greatest. We're going to be utilizing an increase in taxes and reserves to offset the nearly flat increase from school aid. Again, we did receive some additional foundation aid, but looking at last year with the actuals, or what we proposed, it's really kind of a flat increase across the board. The chart represents our tax levy threshold from 2015-16, and you're looking at an 11-year stretch to 25-26. You can see in the threshold certain years we are as low as an increase without exceeding that threshold of 0.46%. So remember, they call it a 2% tax cap. It really isn't. That's the multiplier, or what they consider the CPI to be. The CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, for this year at the time this was calculated was 2.95%. So it'd be great if we were allowed to multiply by 2.95%. The state caps it at 2%. You can see that the actual levy increases from 15-16 to present. We went out and you've got 5 years at 0, several other years at under 2%. The last 2 years have been reflective increases, again, because of what we're seeing in state aid and really with increasing costs coming off of that 2022-23, 23-24, coming off those federal years. And really, when you looked at how do we bridge that gap from going from the federal money to local, we bridged that at 2.9%. And again, looking at this year, especially with that health insurance increase, you're looking at that increase of 3.9%. How will that impact taxpayers? So what we do in our formula, every year we have a formula where we take across our many municipalities, we look at assessed values. Again, those are adjusted. So those assessed values are adjusted, and we put it into the formula, and each area has their own tax rate. So what we do is we come up with an average tax rate when we put out our tax warrants. But what we did is we looked at the average increase based on the value of properties from last year. What happened last year is many areas, many municipalities had their assessments go up. Not only did assessments go up, there's something called the equalization rate, which makes sure that one municipality's taxes aren't greater in essence per property. So when you start to look at that it's almost, to be honest with you, when we figure out the tax levy limit, we put that formula up to show you, the equalization formula is equally as tricky. So what we do is we take the average of all of our municipalities, and we say if we increase taxes 3.9%, how is this going to affect the average taxpayer? It never ceases that when tax bills come out, some people may say in their municipality, my taxes didn't go up at all. Some people may say, based on assessments and equalizations, hey, my taxes went up more than that 3.9%. Again, that's nothing that has to do with the district. We plug our numbers into the formula. All those assessments and equalizations they take place outside of the school district by the counties and the state. So again, looking at an average increase for a $100,000 home would be $75, all the way up to a $500,000 home at $375. Again, this is one of the key pieces. I'd like to credit President Bounds. I think this is one of the things that you had asked a while back. Show us a graphic that shows how we're spending the money that people can relate to. So just under 20%, and this is where you're going to want to see it, is spent on instruction, the instruction of our pupils. This is where every district, the key spending amount should be. If you've seen some of the more recent news articles or on television, some of the little snippets they're doing, every district is coming out. I looked at Rome District last night, $154 million budget. They're at 80% for their instruction. So that's really where you want to be. General support at 10%. This is where every other outside, operations and maintenance, some of our administrative work, anything that's going on for the physical plant, you're going to find under general support. Pupil transport, 7% of our budget. Again, a huge part, this is where the children start and end their day. 7% of your budget is going to pupil transport. School lunch, 2%. Now, believe it or not, 2% of our budget to go ahead and feed over 1,800 students every day, some receiving both breakfast and lunch. We're still subsidized by the state and federal government. There hasn't been anything out there as of late that will change. And the last part, our debt service. So any of our monies that we take out to pay for our current or past projects, that will fall under debt service.
So next Tuesday night, all of our eligible voters will walk here into HTEC. It will be beautifully decorated with all of our student artwork, and they'll be asked to vote on the following propositions. The first is the spending limit. Is the district, are folks willing to allow the district to spend $50,679,157 and levy the taxes to raise that amount of money? So that's proposition one. Proposition two, and you can see that we've highlighted, it's diesel bus leasing. A lot of questions lately with zero emission initiatives, but we are not proposing to buy or lease any zero emission buses. These are all diesel bus leases. And for those folks that have been around a while, you know that Homer has leased its buses for a number of years. We're on a 5-year recycled program where all of our buses are recycled after 5 years. Typically, we go out and we ask our community to support 7 of those buses, which over the course of the 5 years would replace all of them. Looking to tighten our belt a little bit, to also looking at the usage and the number of buses that we have in the district currently. Instead of proposing 7, we're proposing that we only go and lease 6 buses, and at a cost not to exceed $1,100,000. So that is proposition 2, our diesel bus leasing. Our third, we always use the phrase as good neighbors, but as good neighbors, we offer the Phillips Free Library an opportunity to have a proposition during our annual budget vote. This year, the Phillips Free Library is asking our community to support an increase from $214,330 to $220,431. We act as a flow through. We collect the monies and pass it on for use by the Phillips Free Library. Our last is we're going to ask the community to support us creating a new capital reserve fund. This is an ongoing process that we follow in our district, having recently completed and depleted the capital reserve fund for our last capital project. This is asking voters not to necessarily fund the capital project or capital reserve fund, but to allow us to create one in the amount not to exceed $5 million, and the monies, when placed in there, would be used for renovations and additions to all of our district facilities like we've done in the past. How that reserve fund becomes funded is through the use of excess general fund monies and the board voting to transfer money from other reserve funds in our district. So it's very, very specific about how it's funded. So that's proposition 4. So the 4 propositions will be in front of folks next Tuesday night. We also have some options for these folks. As you know, 3 of our current board member terms will be expiring. Aaron Bowens, Eddie Maslin, and Amy Kita. And running for those 3 seats are Janelle O'Gorman, Rochelle Siccioni, and one returning person, and it's Amy Kita. All of the information about all these folks, we asked them to give us the highlights from their lives and what they would bring to the Board of Education, and those can be found on our district website. Who's eligible to vote? It's always important, right? We talk about making sure that we have a crystal clear process for making sure that folks, only folks who are eligible can vote for our elections. A qualified voter in a school budget vote in a Board of Education election is a person that's a citizen of the United States, somebody that's 18 or older. They must have lived in our district for 30 days preceding the vote in the election, and somebody that's not been disqualified from voting per some election law. The other thing I would add for anybody that's listening or watching, if you do come to vote and when you come to vote, please bring your ID, because we're going to be asking for that to verify you are who you say you are. The budget vote, as Mike and I both mentioned, it'll be a week from today. We will set up here at HTEC. We'll open the doors at 7 o'clock. We'll close them promptly at 9. Only folks that are in the room by 9 are eligible to vote. Mr. Bowens had reminded folks that after the polls close, the vote is tabulated, and then the board is expected to be here to accept the results. All of this information that we shared and much more, that'll be going to the district website. We also have a video that has been created that will be sent out to all of our, both our school community and the wider community as well. And we hope that everyone will take the opportunity to exercise their right to vote next Tuesday from 7 to 9 here at HTEC. So with that said, I'll open it to any questions that anybody has. All right, thank you very much, folks.
Budget hearing completed, I will call our meeting to order and ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion to approve the minutes of the 4/21/25 regular meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I don't have a lot of comments. I just want to note that from what went in your board doc, we're moving the executive session to just before we start new business, so that we have a chance to hear from students and not make them wait for us to do our work. So that's the only note that I have.
Great, and speaking of students or student, we have one here with us tonight. Mr. Dolson and Kaylin Driscoll are here. They're going to talk to us about their experience recently at SUNY Portland with the Next Generation Leadership Conference. So, Kaylin, Mr. Dolson, take it away.
Thank you. So, Mr. Dolson and I are here to talk to you guys, like Mr. Turk said, about the Leadership Summit, which I have been fortunate enough to attend for 2 years in a row with Mr. Mack and Mr. Ebner. We were fortunate enough to create a project. I worked with Mr. Dolson's Next Club, and we created something that I think is really special. So we're just going to give a brief overview of that and what that looks like. Yeah. So we call it our Back School Barbecue and Club Showcase. Originally it started as a barbecue, and it'll make more sense why we consider the Club Showcase as we go through the presentation. So our project is obviously a barbecue and a carnival that'll be hosted right here on the school green. It'll be the same day as our freshman orientation. And like I mentioned with the clubs, we want this to be an opportunity for clubs, local businesses, groups in the school, athletic programs, all of that to kind of get their information out there to the kids. We realize that there are so many students in our school and there are so many club opportunities or extracurricular activities, and they just don't know about them, or they don't understand enough about them to consider them. So this is going to be an opportunity where, you know, the clubs can have a booth, maybe a dunk tank or horseshoe, something like that. So they not only have an opportunity to get the word out about who they are, but they also have the opportunity to fundraise for their club. Obviously, cost is something that has to play a part. So we would reach out to local businesses, and they would, of course, have an option to have a booth because of their funding. We also will charge a small admission fee for parents or outside students. Students will get in for free. Money will typically, hopefully, be donated. DECA also agreed to help sponsor and support us. Each club obviously can charge their players for their game based on whatever, you know, their game is, what they want, what they're looking for, and what they need. For food and refreshments wise, we plan on having hot dogs and hamburgers, including condiments and salads, and water and lemonade will also be provided. Tickets, as I mentioned before, students will get in for free, and each student will receive a ticket for a hot dog or a hamburger and water or lemonade. Any additional members will be charged, and whatever's left over at the end will be handed out. Back to the club and business participation, we really just want this to be a point where the community can come together. Students can, you know, learn stuff from current seniors, current upperclassmen, that kind of stuff, kind of really get an insight as to what the high school is going to look like and what opportunities they have when they get here. The games that the clubs have, we hope will kind of like interlink some of the new students to upperclassmen, make friendships before you enter your senior or your freshman year of high school, because we all know how intimidating that can be. Our overall goal, we wanted to create an event that incorporates all of the members of the community and creates a connection. We have a lot of stuff in the community, we have a lot of stuff through the school. It's just really hard, we don't really have something that brings parents and community members into the environment of what the school looks like. Obviously they can't be in school with us all day, so they don't really know what it looks like being inside of the high school or the elementary. So this is kind of a sneak peek into what our daily lives look like. Our next steps would be, obviously, of course, talking to businesses, asking for donations, planning the booths, talking to clubs, making sure that, you know, they have somebody that's willing to run their booth for them, have games picked out, and then, even more important, board approval. We really hope that you guys will consider this, because as I've talked to Mr. Eber about it, and it's insane how many students here don't take active participation in all of the programs that our school offers, including the Leadership Summit. I remember my freshman year, I ended up having to go by myself because the other students canceled for, I believe it was an AP bio test, which totally respected, 100% understandable. But kind of just showing kids that there's more to school than sitting in class all day and doing homework. Like, there's so many opportunities, and they should really take advantage of them.
So a few of the small details that I worked on after this presentation. August 20th, 9 to noon, I believe, is the scheduled freshman orientation. I talked to But I'm waiting for that date to be confirmed, and once that date's confirmed in times, the official documentation will come through for the school board. And looking at it from the standpoint of setup is we're looking at using the stadium and being able to set tables up around the outside of the football field. So there's plenty of room for everybody to participate, and then using the concession stand to cook the burgers and hot dogs. The other piece of this too is I've been talking to my officers of the DECA Club, is speaking with the cafeteria staff and seeing how they can help us with, from the food standpoint of things, looking at their price points compared to what we can get things for, to try and maximize our spending as best we can. And another thing is I've learned this year, doing more with the club and leadership summit, reaching out to local businesses that are more than happy and willing to help us out. We just have to take the effort to ask. You know, that's the big thing that I learned this year. Anna, who couldn't be here because of the lacrosse game in Chittenango, you know, she learned because she took the bull by the horns for all intents and purposes this year, and she sent out 50 business letters to local businesses in the area, and that was what we heard from a lot of them that were willing to invest in our students. Was their lack of investment was due to the lack of anybody asking. So we're going to take that information to heart, and we're going to go out on the pavement, talk to local businesses, and make this as all-inclusive as we possibly can for students, parents, and community members.
Is there a budget that you want to get to? Or?
So that's where we're going to do the homework now of figuring out what it's going to cost, get our price points down, and we haven't really discussed the budget yet because we don't know what the pricing is going to cost, and with everything going on economically right now, it's hard for us to try and gauge what things are going to look like in August. So we plan on meeting in July to really hammer out the details of everything. And once we have a budget set, we'll definitely make sure to get that documentation through to you guys as well. Just, we're going to be as transparent as possible and make sure all of that comes through to you guys so you can see exactly what's going on and what the kids are doing and how they're doing it. They're doing all the work. I'm just kind of advising, giving advice, and helping out any way I can. They've really stepped up big time and have done an amazing job coming up with this idea. This was them. I can't take credit other than chaperoning them and answering questions that they had. They blew me away with this idea, and I'm super excited to be a part of it and showing everybody in Homer what Blue Pride is and what that school is all about. And I think it's going to be a huge event, and Ms. Driscoll and I were talking before the meeting, we're hoping this becomes an annual event, not just a 25-26 school year thing.
Could businesses write off a donation or a sponsorship?
Those are things I gotta look at because of the 501c3 stuff.
Yeah.
Those are questions I have to ask to find out how we can make that happen for them through the 501c3 stuff.
Yeah, because if that can happen, you'll get some significant donations.
And that's one of the discussions too we're having, as well as finding out how to 501c3 some of these bigger events that we want the businesses to be involved in to make it mutually beneficial for all of us.
Other questions for Kaylin or Mr. Golson?
I just want to, say thank you to you guys for giving your time. The Leadership Summit is near and dear to my heart. I used to be an attendee. I used to bring kids from my previous district, and then I've been asked to facilitate over the last couple of years. But the Homer kids really, truly stood out. They knocked it out of the park. They represented Homer with class, with grace, with dignity. They learned a lot about leadership, I'm pretty sure. And again, we tell the adults, stay out of the way. Just as long as it's not illegal, let the students run with it, right? But Homer, they set the pace at this conference, and I'm just so blessed to be around kids like this. And it's just great. And coincidentally, this is one of our major pillars of our strategic plan, getting more students involved in clubs and activities across our school district. So it's a nice match to what we're trying to accomplish as a district.
Yeah, and one of the things that Mr. Ebner won't tell you, but I will, is that it's tradition that new superintendents take part in dunk tanks. So if that, if that stays in your mind, I know, because I've heard him say that he really is hoping.
I think I might have to go out of my way to find one of those guys.
He's a giver. You know, he's the heart of this man.
No, thank you very much, you guys. That's good stuff.
No visit to the board for a presentation is complete without certificates at the end. So just as a way of saying thank you and showing our appreciation for not just coming and doing the presentation, but for the work that has been done and likely to be done as a result of making the presentation. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
And with that, I will entertain a motion to move to executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person or persons. Second. All those in favor? Opposed? All right. With that, we'll move into new business. Just making sure everybody got a chance to get resettled. That way. I think Jessica's stuff in the restroom. So. A few moments. All right. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Oh, it's for me. Look at that. You didn't even get that. What will I be doing? Graduation. Oh, I suppose I'll attend. I have bigger problems than board issues if I didn't attend graduation this year. All right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm thinking, I'll be there.
Your speech with
Hope, when they graduate.
Right? What? It comes off the top.
I think
Yeah.
That's a quick hitter. That's 2 minutes.
I told you about the one here, right, where when we were outside. And
Thank you, sir.
It's the first time, and they threw my speech away. Yeah.
Yeah, they packed up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
It's all good.
Now I have a death grip on it, I don't give it away.
I sent you off that we'll be there for graduation.
Yeah, well, I hope so. We
All right.
have from that.
So now we'll turn to new business. I will entertain a motion to approve the warrants reports and the claim to auditors reports.
So moved.
Second. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? A motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, you have for information there an investment summary and a budget status, revenue status report. Keep rolling on down. I need a motion to approve the report from the Committee on Preschool Education.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Sure, Mr. Moore's not here, and I've been working on a question since Friday.
He knew you were going to, so he avoided it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got sick on purpose.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion to approve the report from the Committee on Special Education.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion to approve the transportation request from Homer Congregational Church for bus usage July 19, 2025 for shuttle service for Holiday in Homer.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion to approve the science classes of Mrs. Costa and Mrs. McCochick, I like it, thanks for the assist. Traveling to New York City on May 22nd, 2025 to tour the American Museum of Natural History.
So moved.
Second. Questions or comments?
Is there any fee for the students for this?
I'm sorry?
Is there a fee? Do all
Yeah.
students get to go?
Yeah, there was a, Doug, do you remember the fee? It was minimal, but there was a fee.
It's nominal, but there is,
Yeah.
It's
I
what?
don't have that document.
It's a small, yeah, he doesn't have the, but there is a nominal fee.
But it's not a barrier, or is there a way to cover it if
It's
it's
not
a
a barrier,
barrier?
it's not, I'll get that number from Mr. Turk and get that to you so that we
I
can.
don't necessarily need the number, I wanna make sure that every kid who wants to go gets to go.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's primarily transportation costs, having a child who's looking at going, because the museum itself is free.
okay, and they're taking a school bus?
That I don't know the answer to.
Yes, it's gonna be a great ride.
Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion to approve the contract for health and welfare services for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I didn't really understand what it is. What is it?
It's the Cortland City Schools provides health services for our students at St. Mary's School.
Physicals or them? Oh.
Yeah. We contract with them because the school is in their school district. They're responsible for that. We pay them for their services.
Further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion to approve personnel as recommended by Superintendent Turk.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
May I just have a moment to welcome Matt Priest, Assistant Superintendent for Business Operations, starting July 1.
Welcome.
Matt did a great job through the interview process, a Homer alum. Welcome home.
Thank you.
Got to brush up on the color of the tie though, Matt.
I have several that I will leave in the desk. Assorted.
They'll have food stains on them, but he'll leave them. Yeah.
So with that, we'll move to community voices. Is there anybody in our community wishing to be heard and not about fashion? We are in rare form tonight. All right, I don't believe we have any board committee reports, but we do have a district report.
We do. Instructional leadership met earlier today.
Yep, we met earlier today in this space at HTEC. It's our last meeting of the year for ILC. Two major agenda items. The first item, we were able to put a bow, so to speak, on a big project ILC has been working on all year. And that's getting a handle on all of our technology applications across the district, pre-K through 12. Working in concert with our grade level leaders, our curriculum lead teachers, our coordinators, directors, our administrative team, Mr. Finn and his department, really taking a hard deep dive into what applications we're using instructionally across the district for any purpose within the classroom, getting a handle on that, getting an inventory on that, looking at what to use, what not. Again, year-long process. We got to a point today where over the summer, where my office and Josh's office will be able to really remove some of those applications that didn't make the final cut. Simultaneously, one of the end results of this project was to put in place a more robust request system for requesting technology applications. We rolled that out this afternoon, and it's really going to give us a great opportunity to capture not only in the moment technology requests, budgeting ahead for technology requests, but also that historical perspective about what has been ordered in the past, forcing teachers to kind of look at, are there applications we already pay for that we already have, that so we kind of reduce some of that redundancy. And I know a lot of school districts are going through this process now. So, culmination of a year-long project. The second agenda item was looking at our professional learning priorities for next school year. Our professional learning committee is a subcommittee of ILC. So we tasked ILC with driving the priorities for what our professional learning days will look like next year. So we worked through the strategic plan today and looked at those big ticket items that we feel would best benefit what our staff needs on their professional learning days. So we'll take that information to TLC next Wednesday for our final meeting of the year to really put our teeth into what our staff development days are going to look like next year. Do you have any questions? Riveting stuff.
How many programs are being cut out of the?
We really haven't taken a look, but it's really not going to be more than that. We have about 280 applications at this point, so it's going to be 50% or more. There's a lot of redundancy, and it's a result of COVID more than anything else. You have teachers in front of computers with kids. I need this, I need that, and again, it happened everywhere across the country, right? So, but it's going to be pretty high. But again, every subject area has applications. We have our major ones like Google, that's not going away. Our reading program's not going away. Those base ones that everybody uses are not going away.
Questions from Jeffrey? Additional? All right, thanks, sir.
Yep, you got it.
Board member activities?
I'd like to share that the state FFA convention was in Syracuse, and our very own Principal Schneider was honored and recognized at the 2025 New York State Convention, and she got an administrator recognition award, for all of her work, and there was a lot of kids, that's a huge deal, so congratulations.
The race to the finish has more than begun. You have no shortage of opportunities to see our kid in action, whether it's any of these concerts that are highlighted, athletic events, all leading up to graduation on Saturday, June 28th, which there was a sheet that was being circulated. So a lot of real positive things going on. And of course, budget vote next Tuesday as well. So that's what I have.
A reminder to any new this year board members, at graduation, Kelly will work with you to make sure you have graduation robe for all that kind of stuff, so she'll reach out and make that connection. And also plan next Tuesday evening, about a half hour later than this, we will gather back here as a board to receive the election results and verify those and vote them as official. So plan to be back here at 9 o'clock next Tuesday